This is my backyard, complete with a fountain, but you know, it also has some instruments. So that's a backyard weather station that I've had for 10 years or so. And it's measuring wind speed and wind direction, temperature, humidity, solar radiation, rainfall. Most people, I think, are generally interested in the air they breathe. We're all kind of curious about the temperature, but we don't really think about that in terms of the air that we're breathing. And why not? That little funnel up there is bringing in air for a sensor that I have in the garage that measures ozone. It has health effects. It causes breathing problems. The weather station is a hobbyist kit. That station's about $1,200. And then inside it's got a little console. It's got real-time data coming in, wind and temperature and humidity and so forth. And then this guy is connected to a computer that's in this closet here that then flows data out to the internet. Laptop computer right up there, you know, kind of out of the way, and it just runs all the time, and it's just flowing data to Weather Underground, to the National Weather Service. This is one of the things that's flowing to the cloud. So, and I've been doing this for, gosh, eight or 9 years. This is called a Nephelometer. Similar to like if I were to take a flashlight and point it at you, and then particles, you know, drifted in front of that, you would see that light being interrupted. This is probably $5,000 or $8,000. I'm a meteorologist by training, so I'm not the everyday citizen, right? During my work, we can borrow some of these more expensive instruments, but I'm also interested in accessibility. You know, what could you buy that could be on the order of maybe $100 or $15 or something like that. I've had a love of kind of the weather environment and collecting data since I was a kid. I had a weather station and part of North Jersey Weather Observers, you know, and this is before the internet. So I guess it's not too surprising now that I'm 50 that I'm geeking out in my garage with instruments. In here, these are all particle measuring devices, and they go anywhere from probably $15,000 to $20,000 down to 15. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is run a bunch of things that are supposed to measure particles, okay? And the question is, well, how good is good? So I borrowed this from work. This is the instrument, or one of the instruments, that's run at a lot of the state and local air quality sites. What it does is it brings air in here, swirls the air around, gets rid of the large particles, and then the smaller particles come down and pile up on this filter paper. It then, at the end of the hour, slides over and they shine a beta ray through there and basically can detect how many particles are on that filter. See that kind of brown area? That's from earlier this morning when I lit some paper in my garage on fire and actually created some particles. Here we go. What we're really concerned about are like the smaller particles, PM or particulate matter, 2.5 microns or smaller. So this is like a fraction of the size of a hair. The larger particles like PM10, particulate matter 10 microns, or even bigger than that, what happens is our body filters those out. They get stuck in our nose, they get stuck in our throat, etc. The smaller particles flow with the air right down into our lungs and actually can cross over into our cardiovascular system. So, you know, particles can cause health effects, respiratory health effects, but also cardiovascular health effects. A lot of times you can't see this stuff, and that's actually why you need measurements like this. Then we have another one here. There's a light scattering device. So this is about $5,000. This one right here is, again, a light scattering device, but about $300. This is a Japanese light scattering device called Shinyi. This is about $150. And this is kind of the rock bottom price right here. This little one, that's about $15. Both on this one and on this device, I have them connected up to separate Arduinos. I have temperature and humidity right here, a little Wi-Fi shield, and then an Arduino down below. And I have a program on there that's, you know, reading the data from here every minute, reading temperature and humidity, and then flowing the data out onto my Wi-Fi onto the cloud. Let's make a fire in the garage. So let's close the door so we can keep the particles contained. You know what's amazing to me is just the simple act of burning, how many particles it produces and how quickly it goes up to the levels that you'd be surprised at. Create a little bit of fire there. And this is just paper, so it's, you know, it's kind of like wood. kind of like burning wood in the fireplace, right? And you go, well, that's not that much smoke, really, you know? This reading right here, it was about 2,000 when we were in here before. Now it's up to 4,000, and we're going to see it continue to climb. This was at 8. We're now at 150, 160, 170. Now this is at 10,000, okay, and climbing. And if you look around the garage, is it massively smoky? No, but you can smell it, right? It's not tons of smoke, but this level right now, you know, if it were to last for an entire hour, this would be at a level in Beijing, or really in China or India or other places where that's hazardous air quality levels. You also need to think about like home fireplace, right? The smell that you and I are smelling in here might be the same smell that you smell inside your home when you're burning wood, right? Well, is that good for you? Well, probably not. Look, now this is up to 34,000. So these two are responding, and we don't know if these are responding over here because we don't have a real-time reading right here. We'd have to go look at the internet site. Because every minute I'm flowing data out to the internet. So we can see there's the first reading. It's spiked up, 36,000. We saw that inside. So the cheaper device is responding. And then here's the other device. So it's certainly responded. Why don't we open the garage door, clear it out, and you know what's going to happen is clean air outside, all of a sudden the clean air starts coming in, and we should see these readings start to go down. In fact, they're already going down. So it was about 250, 280 when we opened the door. Now it's at about 115. This is down. It's up probably 30, 40,000. It's down to less than 20,000 now. But you look around the garage, I don't see a big difference, but you know, these particles are really small. This device is a unit called AirCasting. It flows the data into Arduino, and then this is a Bluetooth shield. And then from Bluetooth, I'm actually bringing it into an Android phone, which is acting as a little data logger. This number was 1 to 0 before. Now it's 16, so it's responding to the smell in here. Having 1 minute measurements, you get to see these rapid changes. You know, and I think one of the things that's really important is that leads to more understanding about what's going on in the environment. This is a group that I'm collaborating with in New York City called AirCasting. And this is a device, and pretty simple. Okay, let's pull it apart. We've got a battery on the bottom here. We've got an Arduino, okay, a Bluetooth connector or device. And then here is the chenille for measuring particles. And what this does is it's got a battery, so now I can take this, I can walk around with it. This is streaming data to my phone. My phone has a GPS. So now, all of a sudden, I can start walking around and making measurements. And you and I could go walk around the block and make some measurements. And then save them on here, and then crowdsource it to a website. So I can take this out and make measurements of you know, what's going on in the environment, not in my garage, not in my backyard, but now all of a sudden I'm mobile. And with that, you know, we have a lot more power by doing that. So now I can walk around my neighborhood and make some particle measurements and then save that on this Android phone here. And then when I'm done with that, I can then crowdsource that, save it, and crowdsource it on a website. You know how the weather's different everywhere? Well, the air quality is different everywhere too. People that live near roads for long periods of time or grow up near roads, kids that grow up near roads have health effects that are different than kids that grow up away from roads. Well, why wouldn't we want to know that? And if I were to say that to you, you may or may not believe it. But if I come in and I say, look, here's data that I collected. So it's showing you particulate matter levels. This is from the $15 AirCasting sensor over there. These are real numbers, and I can back these up. Then all of a sudden the story's a little bit different. I think numbers are important to us as humans. You can think about it, but without the data, then it's not really confirmation, right? Like I can wake up in the morning, I can go, you know, I think I'm really about 200 pounds. But then I get on the scale, and then reality sets in. No, I'm more than that. Okay, I got that number staring me. I better take an action, right? This is a plot of those instruments in there. The particle levels from all these instruments are relatively low. Then right around 230 or so, all of a sudden we see the particle levels go up. quite dramatically. This was a smoke event where a car started a field on fire, lots of smoke drifted up here, and the end result is all four of these instruments that I had running in there detected that. And you know what you can see is the two more expensive ones, the green one that's $5,000, the red one that's $300, respond pretty well. The one that's $150 responds well, but not as high. And the one that's the cheapy one, you can see it kind of sort of goes up and then down, but it's got a lot more noise in it. Well, that's what we'd expect.
So you can't necessarily replace.
You don't want to be landing on an airport with the backyard weather station out in the runway, probably, right? So it depends on the purpose. If you want to have one of these in your house and get a relative indicator, look, when I open the doors and windows, is the air improving or is it going down? A lot of these devices are probably going to be able to do that. So we opened the garage door about, what, 20 minutes ago? So let's see, where are we at? Oh, look, we're back down to levels that we were when you first came here, right? Right around 2000. And oh, yeah, remember this was about 8, so now it's down around 6 or 7. Let's see what this is showing. It started at 0. When we were in here and it was smoky, it was up to 16. Now it's back down to 0. And if we start thinking about it, I probably have a right as a human around this box that I breathe in. I think we could all agree to that we have a right to this airspace out in front of us that we breathe in. That's a basic right that I think any of us have. So if that's the case, why wouldn't you want to know about the air that you're breathing in? This is one of the things that I did. I was on business in China, and one of the things I want to do is take a small handheld device, and it measures black carbon. And black carbon is like the sooty part of particles. So I made some measurements from the center of Shanghai out to the airport. I had this notion that right in the center of Shanghai it's going to be most polluted, but when I get out by the airport, it's going to be clean because it's out by the water. I took measurements showing here, it's lowish, and then all of a sudden it starts to go up when I get out at the airport. So it's higher out at the airport than it was in the center of Shanghai. And I had taken pictures. When I started looking at the pictures, I realized why. The Shanghai government restricts these really heavy, big, dirty trucks from going into the center of the city. They're all on the outskirts. Another one just in New Orleans. Oh, and this time we were measuring black and brown carbon. So black coming from kind of diesel, brown coming from combustion of like woody material. So this is me walking. So here I am in New Orleans walking on the Riverwalk. We can see that the black and brown carbon go up. The black carbon is in blue, the brown carbon's in red. That's due to the boats going by on the river, okay? Then I walked into the casino. What happens? Well, there's smoking in the casino, so the brown carbon goes way up, the black carbon stays low, okay? Then I walk outside the casino, then they're both relatively low as I'm walking back to my hotel. I walk into the elevator, go up, and there's my room, cleanest of all. And that's the power of having some of these small devices. If we can't measure it, then we can't change it.
You can make decisions in your life based on the numbers as well. Before renting or buying a house, you could...
Well, the thing is, if I come to this neighborhood, right, and I make measurements, I make them for a day, and that day is perfect, then all of a sudden, every other day is cruddy. So you really need long-term, or maybe if enough of us put out these $15 or $50 instruments, and all of a sudden you can start crowdsourcing the information, then all of a sudden you can figure out, well, it looks like it's a little bit higher over in this area, maybe a little bit lower over here. I wonder what's going on. That's the whole nature of what's happening with the internet, is this kind of ubiquitous information and sharing of all this information. So having this information makes us all have a better connection to the environment.